Hey, I'm Chris, and this is AFA Reaction Videos. And today we're going to be reacting to something. It's been a while since we reacted to something. I should say that it's been a while, but we're going to start getting back into it. But this is something I've been wanting to react to for a while. It's Walt Disney, A Magical Life. There that they did out at Disneyland. So they've got an entire show for Walt, and they have an animatronic of Walt as well. And what's neat is there will be an animatronic coming to this side, the East Coast, as well, down in Walt Disney World, from what we are hearing. But before we start, the video was done by aaronj. Go check him out. His link will be in the top of the description. Also, at the end, towards the end of the video, we'll be putting his a card up top, so you can click on that and go over and check out what he's doing over there. Plus, if you want to see this video in full size, that is also where you want to go. But what are we waiting for? Let's start reacting to Walt Disney, A Magical Life, there at Disneyland.
They say that Hollywood is a town built on dreams, and one of its greatest dreamers was Walt Disney. His life was filled with both exhilarating success and heartbreaking setbacks. But he never gave up. He just kept moving toward that great big, beautiful tomorrow. The story of Walt's life is truly a magical one, and no one could tell it quite like Walt himself.
My dad worked as a carpenter in the World Spider Building. He eventually ended up in Chicago as a contractor, and he was doing that when I was born. December 1901. But my dad made some money as a contractor, and he wanted to get back to the farm. They finally ended up buying this farm in Marceline, Missouri. It was a beautiful farm, but it was not the kind of farm to make a living on. Things got pretty tough on the farm, and my dad had a sickness. So my dad sold the farm, took the money, and went to Kansas City. And my dad bought this Kansas City Star route. And they gave me a route. I was about 9 or 10 when I started that. Winter, we'd go out at 3:30 in the morning.
So I remember a lot of this. I have read a lot of biographies on Walt Disney, and I do remember him talking about a paper route. I remember a lot of the stuff. I remember him talking about living in Chicago and different areas as well. So to actually see some of the stuff as they're talking, it's really interesting. I mean, Walt Disney has a very interesting life. And I hope they remember to put everything in here. So let's go ahead. Let's keep watching.
After a blizzard or in a blizzard, or in pouring rain, it didn't matter. I did that for 6 years. It was tough.
The constant hardship took a heavy toll on the Disney family. One by one, the children began to leave home. And one day, Walt woke up to find his best friend, his brother Roy, had gone as well. So Walt did something that he would do throughout his life when things got tough. He took a chance.
My brother had joined the Navy, so I wanted to join it. Well, I was still a year too young, 16. Finally, this kid came in to me very excited. He said, "There's something just forming here that you and I can get in." I said, "What is it?" He said, "An ambulance unit." I was in Paris, 3rd of September, when Pershing pulled out. Paris, which had been this exciting thing with all its soldiers and things, suddenly there wasn't a soldier to be seen. And I suddenly became very lonesome. So then I went in and put a request in to be discharged. Fly in Chicago.
So when Walt Disney was over for World War I, he did drive an ambulance. And I believe it was a Model T is what he was driving. And some of the places around here, such as Wright Pat Air Force Base, they have the Air Force Museum. They have a Model T, and they actually bring up that People like him drove one of those kinds of ambulance during World War One, but also Ernest Hemingway also drove an ambulance like that in World War One. They also, over in Richmond at the Model T Museum, they also had a Model T ambulance there where they actually talk about how Walt Disney, that's the kind of ambulance that Walt Disney drove in World War One.
That's where my parents were living. And I said, Dad, I want to be an artist. And my dad, he just couldn't buy it. So I sold steaks and moved to Kansas City. Roy was in Kansas City working in a bank. One of the fellows working with Roy said, say, I have a couple of friends that have an art shop. So I went up to these samples, and there were all these corny things I'd done in France. Oh my gosh, they hired me. I mean, right on the spot. So I took the camera home, and then I started experimenting. My own way. So then I went into this Kansas City Film Ad Company. So that was where I got started in the animation business. So I was thinking if I had something with a novel to it, I might crack some market.
Isn't that cool?
But I still couldn't get anywhere with it. I failed. I learned a lot out of that. And I think it's important to have a good failure when you're young.
I believe this is where the Alice cartoons come. That's where you seen like where he was mixing live action with animated. So he'd started doing that a long time ago, mixing live action with animation. And I don't know if he was the first to do it. Maybe he was. I just know that lots of that stuff came out. One of the biggest films that they had the animation and live action together would be Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
So I packed all my worldly goods in a cardboard suitcase. I went to Hollywood. Arriving there with just $40 in my pocket for my Kansas City ventures. Now my brother Roy was already in Los Angeles. Both of us were unemployed. We solved the problem by going into business for ourselves. We established the first animated cartoon studio in Hollywood.
Walt's dreams were finally coming true. He had his first big hit, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. And he had married the love of his life, Lillian, an ink and paint artist at the studio who shared his dreams.
See, back in the day, women weren't allowed to be in animation. They were only allowed to be in the ink and paint department. And most of the ink and paint department were females, while animators were male. Now, obviously, that changed later on, but it's just kind of weird how people would think in certain ways, and now all that's completely gone. That just anybody can do it. It's not. It has nothing to do with your sex or who you are. It can be done by anybody, and I don't know. It just seems like thinking back there was kind of more narrow than what it is today. But it's wonderful to know that we got to watch the Disney company evolve through the years. But
then he was dealt a devastating blow. On a business trip to New York City, he learned that he had lost ownership of Oswald due to a contract loophole. And to make matters worse, the distributor had signed away Walt's artists. Most people would have given up right then and there. Not Walt Disney. He sent a telegram to his brother Roy. Everything okay. And as he headed home to California, something happened along the way that would change things forever.
Mickey Mouse came into our life.
He popped out of my mind onto a drawing pad on a train ride from Manhattan to Hollywood at a time when the business fortunes of my brother Roy and myself were at lowest ebb and disaster seemed right around the corner. His first actual screen appearance was at the Old Colony Theater.
Now on that train ride, from what I understood, was he wanted to name him Mortimer Mouse, and it was Lillian who said she didn't like the name, that they should give him a better name. So that's when Mickey popped up. Maybe Walt did draw the first Mickey Mouse, but I know Ub Iwerk was drawing Mickey a lot. Now, I also know that Mickey showed up in a lot of cartoons. Maybe not Mickey per se, but there were a lot of small mice in the early cartoons that looked a lot like what Mickey did when they first drew him. So
New York in Steamboat Willie. He was the first cartoon character to stress personality, and I thought of him from the first as a distinct individual. I did the voice.
Hang on, pal. Here we go.
Mickey was simply a little personality assigned to the purposes of laughter. Mickey fitted the need exactly. He brought in the money which saved the day. He enabled us to explore our medium, and he paved the way for our more elaborate screen ventures.
By nature, I'm an experimenter, so I had another idea which was plaguing my brain. It was the Silly Symphonies. It was a series without a central character.
Every one of us a new type of subject to give us something to reach out and accomplish something different. Then we started distributing Mickey Mouse and the Silly Symphonies. It was meant to talk, get them up.
Walt began to push himself and his artists. And when he wasn't working, he was worrying about the future. And then the inevitable happened. In 1931, he had what he called a heck of a breakdown. So he did something unique for Walt Disney. He took time off and took his wife on the first vacation they had ever had. When they returned, he was a new man, filled with ideas for the future.
Subject was just a filler on any program. Now, if I could crack the feature field, then I could do things. I had done a little story research on different fairy tales I might do, and Snow White was one of them. I thought it was a perfect story. I had the heavy.
It's a magic wishing apple. Now, make a wish.
I had the prince and the girl, the romance. I had the sympathetic warmth and things. We started Snow White sometime late 35, and it was around 2 years in the making. We had the family fortune, we had everything wrapped up in Snow White. In fact, the banker, I think, was losing more sleep than I was. We had a big premiere at the Carthy Circle Theater, big, grand Hollywood premiere. All of Hollywood brass turned out for a cartoon.
yeah, what they don't tell you is that the newspapers was calling it Disney's Follies because they really thought that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs were going to flop. They really believed it. They didn't think that a cartoon, a full feature length, would be able to hold people's attention. They thought they would be found boring or too childlike. So that's what they called it, was Disney's Folly. But obviously, we know today it became probably one of his most successful films he put out.
The Daddy of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is going to be presented this beautiful statue. Isn't that great, Mr. Amos?
Sure, it's beautiful.
Aren't you proud of Mr. Disney?
I'm so proud, I think I'll bust.
With the profits of Snow White, I built a studio. 2 years later, I was almost broke. But I had all these pictures and words. I don't get it.
You can't see. There are no things on me.
Randy. Fantasia.
That was when the war came. The whole world was collapsing then. So many of my boys went through the service.
What some people don't know is during World War II, they actually took over Walt Disney's studio to use to make propaganda films, obviously against the Nazis, or Germany. But the thing was there was lots of propaganda films that come out. Not only that, there was also lots of films that were made for troops explaining how to use things and talk about all kinds of things. If I'm right, I think they might even got into some cartoons about war bonds, but I may be wrong about that. But it was a real interesting time. I think there's actually a whole entire thing that you can get that just shows everything that was put out from the Walt Disney Studios during World War II, covering World War II.
So I just practically stopped my feature production. That's all I could do. But after the war, it was quite a problem picking up the pieces. I knew that diversifying of the business would be the salvation of it. So I tried various things. I thought, well, the cartoon. And I thought if I could get into the live end, that there's things I could do.
Stand by, inches.
Not bad, eh, Charlie? Let's open her up and see what you really do.
I wanted to look different types of things that I could pull on my nose. One of these pictures, but I had another one right behind it that would hit.
After a long concentration on live action and cartoon films, we decided to try something that would employ about every trick we learned in the making of films. We would combine cartoon, live action, in enormous fantasy, Mary Poppins.
That's right, Mary Poppins. I wanted to say that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the biggest, but I would say Mary Poppins would be bigger than Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Obviously, Roger Rabbit had a lot of stuff going on in it, and there was probably more animation and live action put together there than what there was in Mary Poppins. But Mary Poppins would have been the first full-length animation that he did. I believe he also did it with Bedknobs and Broomsticks, if I'm correct. It's been a while since I see that movie, but I might be wrong, but I think there was animation in Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
As the original Mary Poppins budget of $5 million continued to grow, I never saw a sad face around the studio. Even my brother Roy was happy. This made me nervous. And a horrible thought struck me. Suppose the staff had finally conceded that I knew what I was doing.
Once again, Walt Disney had created storytelling magic to reinvent family entertainment. But even then, he wasn't finished. He had a bigger dream in mind.
Well, it came about when my daughters were very young, and Saturday was always Daddy's Day with the two daughters. So we'd start out and try to go someplace with, different things, and I would take them to the merry-go-round, and I took them different places, and as I'd sit there while they rode the merry-go-round, did all these things, I felt that there should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where the parents and the children could have fun together. So that's how Disneyland started. Takes a lot of money to make these dreams come true. And we had everything mortgaged, including my family. Started with many ideas, threw them away, started all over again.
Now, before Disney started Disneyland, he did do a lot of research into different theme parks. Obviously, he wasn't the first theme park there. He's just the one who did it correctly. A lot of theme parks back then were dirty and messy, and it was just a place where kids would just throw their trash on the ground and everything like that, and Walt didn't like that part. Now, a couple of the places that Walt looked at was, they said Toverland in Denmark was one of the places, and then they also believed Efteling in the Netherlands was another place he visited for his idea of Disneyland.
Eventually it evolved into what you see today as Disneyland. But it all started from a daddy with two daughters wondering where he could take them, where he could have a little fun with them too. The park means a lot to me in that something will never be finished. something that I can keep developing and adding to. Not only can I add things, but even the trees will keep growing. The thing will get more beautiful every year. Well, I knew that if I did it in like a park, I had to have some kind of a medium like television to let the people know about it.
The world is a carousel of color, history, comedy, fantasy. There's drama and mirth, there's old Mother Earth, with all of her secrets to see. A miracle of imagination, the marvels of earth, sea, and sky. These wonders untold are ours to behold in the funny world, the sunny world, the wonderful world of
And now your host, Walt Disney. Today, I want to share with you some of our ideas for Disney World. Here in Florida, we have something special we never enjoyed at Disneyland, the blessing of size. There's enough land here to hold all of the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We know what our goals are, we know what we hope to accomplish, and believe me, it's the most exciting and challenging assignment we've ever tackled at Walt Disney Productions.
Throughout his storied career, Walt never gave up, despite the many challenges along the way. For his visionary work, he received hundreds of awards from all corners of the globe, more Academy Awards than any individual in history, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom for a lifetime of inspiring others. He created dreams that live on today for millions around the world. But with all of that, when asked to name his greatest reward, Walt's reply was surprisingly humble.
Well, my greatest reward, I think, is that I've been
Wow.
able to build this wonderful organization, and also to have the public appreciate and accept what I've done all these years. That is a great reward. But all individuals are different. I had a brother who I really envied because he was a mailman. But he was the one that had all the fun. He had himself a trailer.
Wow.
And he used to go off and go fishing, and he didn't worry about payrolls, their story. He said, have picture grocers or anything. And he was the happy one. I always said, he's the smart Disney. You know, I was stopped one day when the little boy asked,
gosh.
do you draw Mickey Mouse? And I had to admit, I do not draw anymore. Well, then you think of all the jokes and ideas. No, I said, I don't do that. Finally, he looked at me and said, Mr. Disney, just what do you do? Well, I said, sometimes I think of myself as a little bee. I go from one area of the studio to another and gather pollen and sort of stimulate everybody. I guess that's the job I do. You know, there's a lot of satisfaction in developing ideas into reality, but there's really no secret about our approach. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors, doing new things, because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. We're always exploring and experimenting. We're interested in doing things that are fun, in bringing pleasure and especially laughter to people. But I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing. It was all started by a mouse.
Like a boat out of the blue, and steps in and sees you through. Like upon a star, your dreams come true.
Wow. So wow, I was blown away. I mean, the way he moved, it was almost like he was real. It was like Walt Disney was really there. Now, whether this was a good thing they did or what, because from what I understand, I don't think Walt wanted to be an animatronic. I don't think the family wanted Walt to be an animatronic. So whether it was a right thing to do or not, I couldn't say. So I would say that I think the company should have maybe heard the Disney family's wishes, but then again, you know, like I said, that's between them. Other than that, for the show, I think they did a great job. Once again, I do believe there was a lot there from the beginning that really told a lot about Walt without having to have the animatronic. But the animatronic was just that little add-on. You know, the animatronic, I'm just wondering if it's the more advanced. I'm pretty sure it's the more advanced animatronic, but I'm wondering if they've created even more advanced than what they did. Now I know the last few animatronics that were, I think they're called, I can't remember. I used to know what the name of the animatronics were, but I know the last one was a 1000 model. And the only ones I know that at Walt Disney World that were like that was the shaman in the Navi River journey there in Animal Kingdom, and then Hondo and Naka there at Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, which would be at Disneyland and Hollywood Studios, would be one of those. And they moved very much. I think Doc Ondar might be that same model. So if you're wondering who Doc Ondar is the Thorian that runs the Doc Ondar Antiquities that is in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. He's not really in a ride. He's actually in a store, and you're actually supposed to be in the store that he runs. But this was amazing. I thought the animatronic looked amazing. Looked lifelike. There was just some subtle hints I thought was a little off. And it was like one of the things that was a little off to me that I kind of noticed, and I understand they probably did it for movement, but it just seems like, and even when I seen pictures of this before I seen this, it seemed like the collar was a lot loose, and I'm wondering if the collar had to be loose for the movement of the neck and everything like that. But otherwise, I thought this was amazing. I love the show. I'd like to see it in person, and I can't wait to see the animatronic of Walt, the one they're putting down there at Walt Disney World at the Carousel Progress. I can't wait for that. But remember, the video was done by aaronj. Go check him out. We'll put his link in the top of the description. We'll also putting his link up at the top where you can click it and go straight over to his channel. Check out everything he's doing. Plus, if you want to see the video we just reacted to in full size, that's where you're going to have to go. But that is going to do it. Thank you guys for joining me, and I hope to catch you on the next AFA reaction video. We'll see y'all soon. Bye.